Hey beer and brew fans, and welcome to Something About Beer. Today is brew day and I'm making an IPA. Now this IPA is actually going on my beer engine. My beer engine has been empty for a couple of months now, so I thought it was about time I get that rectified. So today I'm making a cask style IPA. So let's get into it. So here we have the Marisotta. When I open my grain bin, it smells absolutely amazing. It really does. Yeah, so uncrushed, as you see. I'm just going to weigh it out and get it crushed. So this silver bowl that I have holds around about 2 kilos, so it's pretty much bang on, I think. Yeah. So that's pretty easy for me to weigh out. Just need two of those because I need 4 kilos of Marisotta in today's recipe. So here's the crystal. This is extra light crystal, 100 EBC. There's 500 grams going in the recipe. Give it some colour and a little bit of caramel flavour. You can see how the kernels are toasted. And finally we have 150 grams of chipped malt. There it is, very lightly toasted. Helps the body of the beer and head retention as well. The hopper that I have on this grain crusher here, incidentally it's the Grain Father electric crusher. It holds about 1 kilo roughly. And it gets through it in about 30 seconds. So generally if I'm brewing with 5 kilos of grain, I can get the grain crushed in about 2.5 minutes with this. So it's pretty efficient. So here is the crushed grist. I have it on a medium crush. It breaks up the kernels pretty well and gives us access to that lovely starch. So the beer that I'm brewing today is a IPA that I'm going to be putting on my beer engine, and it's a fairly simple grain bill actually. We've got Marisotta, we've got some light, extra light caramel actually. And some chip malt, and here's the chip malt. You can see here very light light toasting, almost raw grain. This helps the body of the beer. The mouthfeel gives it a little bit more mouthfeel. Also it helps in regards to the head retention and the foam. From a flavour standpoint, it's got a slight raw grain flavour to it initially, because essentially it is almost raw grain, so that's no surprise. There's some light grassy type flavours in there as well. Not really noticed a huge amount of those flavours transferring through to the beer though, when I use chip malt, but it's in very low levels. That's water, by the way, not vodka. So yeah, I'm usually using 2-3%, something like that in my beers, maybe as much as 4 depending on the style of beer. But definitely a good malt for that body, mouthfeel and head retention. And the next is good old Marisotta. This is about 4.5 EBC. and for me, what I get with Marisota is it's quite malty. Definitely get malty in there. I get biscuit as well, some slight biscuit notes. A slight nuttiness comes through as well in this. Generally, I'm getting that biscuity, slightly sweet, nice malty, grainy flavour to it. Sorry about the camera, it's a little windy here outside today. It's a staple in my brewery. I use Marisota very often, actually, in a lot of my beers. It's a lovely malt. And then finally, I have you can see there, it's the extra light crystal. It's 100 EBC. Crunchy texture, as you would imagine, being a crystal malt. Again, I get slight sweetness, but there's also a roastiness that comes through, just slight. Caramel, slight toffee. There is a very, very light touch of dried fruit in there. Just a whisper, not a lot. But with this malt, I don't generally get that that dried fruitiness coming through when I brew with the beer. I get it slightly when I eat the grain, but I don't really get it in the beer. What I'm hoping to bring to this particular beer is just lifting the malt a little bit, giving it a little bit of sweetness, a little bit more of a malt complex in the beer. I think I've used about 8%, something like that. No, it might be more, about 10%, I think, something like that. Also brings some of that colour, of course, to the IPA. So here we are, all mashed in. No dough balls that I can detect, at least. So we're all ready for the recirculation. So here we are recirculating now. We're about 67, yeah. That's where I want to be. It's recirculating nicely, the colour's lovely. So I'll leave that for about 15 minutes now, and then I'll take a pH reading to make sure we're in line there. So it's been about 15 minutes in the mash, just taking a pH reading now, and we've settled on 5.2. I think the calculator suggested it's 5.22, so more or less bang on. Yeah, very happy with that. Okay, so the mash is complete. It's now time to sparge. I've just lifted the kettle up onto the first set of feet there. I deploy a pretty basic sparge method, to be honest. Just pour the water over the grain. But what I do to start with is I pour the water around the sides. As you can see, there's you know, some potential sugars there as well, and I leave the bag, this is what I've adopted recently, I leave the bag in there for the first sort of sparge, maybe 1 or 2 litres or so it cleans the top part of the bag before I pick the bag out. A couple of reasons I do that. Firstly, there's obviously sugar in there that I want to use, but also when I take you know, when I take the bag out and hang it over the side, then it drips wort all over the place, and that's pretty sticky. Usually when I do it the way I've adopted, it's less sticky, and the cleanup is less as well. So okay, time to weigh out the hops. So the first hop that's going in is Challenger. This is about 4.4 alpha acid, percentage alpha acid. We're going for around about 30 to 35 IBU here. We should have about 35 grams in this pack. That's what, 38. Okay, so we're going to get a few more IBUs out of this one. So this is actually a British hop. and what I'm hoping for is very nice rounded bitterness, and it's going in at 60 minutes at the beginning of the boil, of course. There is some floral and some light citrus fruit that you can get from this as well, but I don't believe that we will see a lot of that come through in the finished beer, given that it's going in at the beginning of the boil. So now we're on to the 10-minute additions of the hops. We have East Kent Goldings, 5.4% alpha acid. There's only a small amount going in. I'm using up some of my English hops that I have left, actually, so there should be around about 15 grams in here. I'm not going to get a lot of bittering from this for two reasons. Obviously, one, it's low alpha, but two, we're adding it to the towards the end of the boil. Okay, again, I've got a few more grams, so around about 18 grams here. So from the EKG, I expect to get a little bit of spice, bit of earthiness, maybe some floral notes, etc., but not a huge amount, given that we're only putting a small amount in. Yeah, let's see. The final hop that we're putting in is Cascade. And this is basically my homegrown Cascade. I've just took it out the freezer. There's 30 grams in here. So I dried them, vacuum packed them, and froze them within, I don't know, I would say within 48 hours of coming off the vine, something like that. Yeah, some of that nice grapefruit I'm hoping to get from that. Oh, very sticky, so there's quite a lot of lupulin in there, so great. Yeah, so I'm hoping to get a little bit of some of that citrus and traditional IPA kind of flavors in here from this. Sparge is complete now, and we're up to about 27 litres or just less, which is where we need to be. Patiently waiting to get up to boil and keeping an eye on that hop break. All ready for the first hop, which should be going in just as soon as we start to boil. So here's my grain bag, hung up basically to dry, and that grain will be recycled into the chickens, and also a bunch of dog biscuits will be made. Shall I make some biscuits, Oscar? Do you want a biscuit? Is that a yes? Is that a yes? Okay, I guess it is then. We'd better make some. So in goes the first hop charge. Here we are, 35 or 38 grams actually of Challenger. So the final hop additions then, we have the EKG going in, and the homegrown Cascade whole cone. I do like to recirculate as well a little bit through the hops, particularly if I'm using whole cone, just to make sure that I'm getting as much extract of that goodness out of there as I can. Okay, so we're now cooling the wort. I have my double immersion chiller in there, all hooked up and running. Still need to fix that little leak on that join there. And yeah, waiting for this now to cool down to pitching temperature. You see it cools down fairly quick, certainly at the beginning anyway, so yeah, shouldn't be too long before we can pitch the yeast. Okay, boil finished. We're transferring into the fermenter. I think we're looking pretty good. So let this transfer and then we will pitch the yeast. Well, brew day's over, all cleaned up, put to bed in the fermenter, so yeah, now it's time for the yeast to do its thing. I'm just reviewing the brew day stats here, and all in all I was very happy with what we did today. pH was 5.2, we were aiming at 5.22, pretty much bang on the money there. The pre-boil gravity was 1045, but we were aiming at 1042, so again, very happy with that. OG, I think we were aiming for about we achieved 1053 on the OG, so pretty much bang on there as well. Volume wise, we're more or less there. Slightly down on the fermenter volume, just by not a lot, half a litre, not even that I don't think, so I don't think that's going to make a huge difference, to be honest. But what I was pleased with again was my mash efficiency. I was getting 80%, so I'm very happy with that. Brew house efficiency was about 75%. I think on a home brew level that's not bad at all. On a pro level, of course, that's probably not great, but no, very happy with the way the brew day went today. So I think it's now time for a beer, so the only thing left to say, of course, is until next time. Cheers. If you like what we're doing here at Something About Beer, please subscribe and give the video a like. It really does help the channel out a lot. And don't forget to ring that bell so that you're alerted to new content we put out.